Okay, let's talk theory books. So before I get into actually talking about theory books, I think the first thing you do without buying any money is just start with the music you have. Just start with asking some basic questions. I think knowing and understanding music is more about attitude, figuring out how all the puzzle pieces fit together. So, like, here's my real book. So just start, how is the music put together? So, like, satin doll. Right? Ask how do all these chords connect together? We got like D minor, G7, 2 5 2 5. Now we're gonna go up a whole step. 2 5 2 5. Another 2 5 in G major, and then a 2 5 in G flat. Those kind of things. Ask how do these chords relate? So there's like if you're doing jazz. The other one, just like take the music you're working on. Ask these questions. So say I'm doing like Chopin Minute Waltz. Like I stop most of my students halfway through and I ask, what key are you in? What scale are you playing? What chord are you playing? And they can't answer these basic questions. No theory book is gonna like turn your brain on to asking these questions. So I think the biggest thing you can do is just be engaged when you're learning and practicing your music. Ask these questions. What scale should I know? So like for this one, for example, I should know D flat major. I should know my scales. Well, what's the 1 chord? What's the 5 chord? Because that's basically the whole first page of that piece. It's just 1 chord and 5 chord. So like it makes it so much easier to memorize when you understand those pieces. All right, so with that out of the way, what if you need to actually want to learn music theory? The biggest thing about music theory is just you have names for things. You can get together with other musicians and you can say, hey, play the dominant chord, or we're going to play in this key. Like you need to know what those things mean. All right, so before we move on, let me show you this theory app that I built. I was frustrated with a lot of the tools out there. I wanted to, help my 6-year-old students as well as, older students wanting to fill in their gaps. So I built this app. So if you go to knowyourtheory.com, you'll see what I've built here. So I start off super basic. So let's just start off with some note names. So I have a little video. You'll see that I made a video of the concept, and then you're going to drill that concept. So here's like an E. And this first one is just 3 notes. It's just going to drill C, D, and E. And you just keep doing that until you feel comfortable. Again, my 5-year-old loves this. So it's super simple. And then once you feel good with that, I'm going to teach you those same notes on the keyboard and go through that. C, D, I could choose this D too, it doesn't matter, and E. Anyway, you get the idea. So I just walk through super basic and build up more and more notes, more and more concepts. So we cover intervals, more note names. So this is like sharps and flats on the keyboard. What else here? Intervals. Actually, I want to show you this interval one here because I love doing this with my students, but I've never seen an app actually do this. So no clef, just, is it the same? Is it, or is it, an interval of some kind? So this is the same. So this is a second. And just drill that back and forth. Like intervals are not, they don't care what clef they're on, treble clef, bass clef, alto clef, whatever. So, and we drill all these up and drill them on the keyboard. So again, my 5-year-old can totally do this. Just count the keys and, go up or down. Let's see here. So that's pretty much it. So what it doesn't cover part writing. It doesn't do any oral training. It's pretty simple. But this is nice just to get you going. And I mean, it gets pretty complicated as far as like 7th chords, select the root and quality of the triad. So this first row is the root. So this is some kind of B flat chord. It looks like B flat minor 7th. Yeah, there we go. So that would be in like first inversion. But anyway, so it gets pretty complicated. You see, we can drill major, seventh chords dominant, seventh chords minor, half diminished, diminished. So that would get most of my students like really comfortable being able to do any kind of analysis, figuring out how things sound. So you probably want to do this sitting at the piano, play these, see what they sound like. So that's basically it. So try it. It's free. Just go on there and use it. You can download it to your phone. So if you go to this on your phone, you can see that it'll ask you to download. Or it does on my Android anyway. So I hope you enjoy it. So I'll show you my first theory book, which isn't a great place to start, but I read this to start with, this Arnold Schoenberg theory of harmony, and it's quite dense, and I think I was really intense, and I read the whole thing in high school. So I definitely wouldn't recommend starting there. If you're going to go to a university class, you're probably going to start with this. Koska Payne, this infamous book, comes with a workbook. The problem I have with this one, if you look at the workbook, let's look at page 1 here. Key signatures on the first page. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, you got people in there, like voice majors or something, that, like, don't know their 5-finger patterns on the piano. So, like, don't start there. I think that's why most freshmen, a lot of freshmen, can fail that class, is because they just throw you in the deep end and they expect you to know all this stuff. The one I really recommend is this Complete Musician here. Yeah, I love this book, so I could never convince my uppers when I was teaching theory in university to use this book, but I absolutely love this book. I don't have enough good to say about it. It starts off real slow, and it comes with 2 huge workbooks. If you want a quick version of this book, I really enjoyed this. It's like quite skinny. It's just like a crash course. The graduate review of tonal theory. So a crash course, everything in those other books just condensed down into a little book. It comes in a little skinny workbook. So I love these really clever exercises to get you up to speed. Like mostly just like a lot of practical examples from real music. So, Corelli, Bach, that kind of stuff. Looking at real examples, doing some part writing, doing some counterpoint, that stuff. All right, the other one you're going to see a lot, and this is if you want to be like the grandmaster of part writing. Shakhter, Harmony and Voice Leading. And it comes with 2 workbooks. This is like really heavy on part writing rules. The thing I really like about this one is that it has cool keyboard exercises. So you're going to go through, you can see, I love taking those and transposing them to all 12 keys. So let's take, for example, here, you have exercises like this. So it just harmonizes this bass scale. Or, it has lots of other ones. And then, I would take those and transpose them to all 12 keys. So I really liked that. It got me really comfortable with part writing rules. Okay, so that's for theory books. The one I would most recommend is that Complete Musician. If you're doing this on your own, I would recommend a sight reading or a sight singing book. So I like this one. Has lots of fun exercises in it. The idea here is it just has a bunch of melodies. You're just going to practice singing them. So try to do it away from the piano. You don't want to play it and then, sing after it. Really just learn how to sing, look at the page, and sing it. This one has some fun stuff in it. It has duets. It has like sing and play, so you'd like play a piano part. Okay, if you're into jazz, I've bought a lot of books. You probably started with this one, which is good. It's very thorough. And the other one, also by Mark Levin, this one, it's good too. It's very dense. See how thick this thing is? And, you know, if you're new to jazz, most of this stuff is just going to go completely over your head. So this is pretty approachable, the jazz piano book. This is the one I recommend to beginners, though. I love this book. It's like a lot skinnier. It's really practical. It starts out slow, has lots of music examples. So I really love this book. So this is what I recommend to students starting out. It has like full solos written out. It has, you know, song analysis, you know, explaining how turnarounds work, 2-5-1s, that kind of thing, chord substitutions, harmonization, that kind of stuff. All right, so those are just like the theory books. Some supplemental material. When I was teaching music theory in college, these two books helped me a lot. And I recommend if you just want to learn music theory better, read them. The best way to learn something is to teach it. So the first one is this RL Skills Acquisition by Gary Karpinski. Some just great information there. And then Teaching Approaches in Music Theory by Michael Rogers. And that's it. I hope that you found this useful. You know, I've gone through a lot of theory books. Again, like I said at the beginning, the most useful thing is just to ask the right questions. What key is this in? How does music work? So the biggest thing is just have an attitude and openness to learning. Don't just play the notes on the page or just play what you hear. Try to figure out how music is put together.